This is absolutely crazy. After the Suns get their big victory versus the Lakers yesterday, Jusuf Nurkic calls out fans, and this is absolutely ridiculous after he's had some questionable play dealing with some injuries for this Suns team leading up to the season. He had a solid second half and wanted to make sure that the fans and the media heard from it first. So Nurkic, who has been kind of fitting in with Budenholzer's system in yesterday's contest in the second half, had a lot to say, and we're going to be diving into all of this and more. Welcome back to Suns Digest. I'm Bruce Willis. You guys are absolutely fantastic, showing your love and support for the channel. So let's dive into all the news for you today. First, we're going to be discussing how this is absolutely crazy, wild, as Jusuf Nurkic yesterday spoke out against Suns fans and Suns media in the win versus the Lakers. As we all know, Nurkic has been dealing with some injuries leading up to the season, had a finger injury going into preseason, got over that, then had been dealing with some ankle injuries through some games, and with the Suns having a weakened front court already with Jusuf Nurkic, dealing with those injuries and having players like Mason Plumlee and Oso Iguodala have to step up, this Suns team was looking a little bit shaky, going obviously on a 5-game losing streak with Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal out. And Jusuf Nurkic was obviously required to take a little bit more of that load with those guys out. And unfortunately, it did not work for the Suns. But with both of those guys inserted back, the Suns came out and dominated versus a Los Angeles Lakers team as they got on a really, really solid second half run. But the Suns ultimately, with Jusuf Nurkic having that good second run, had him have some words to say. So let's dive in and let's look at this. We want to look at what Nurkic had to say on this Suns team. We can see from Dwayne Rankin that he said he's been judged since he got here the most. Everybody wants me to play that KD role, similar to what I said. Jusuf Nurkic said after the Suns. And on Gerald Bourguet's question about criticism on social media, he said that the Suns fans that criticize him are not real fans. The internet ain't the real world. People are going to hate. And to follow that up, obviously he said he's been judged. I feel like most people since the worst since he's got here, like Gerald said, and he said they're not real friends. They're not real fans. You just go out there in Phoenix, you see the real fans. The internet, it ain't the real world, man. Saying that all those trolls on the internet, everybody calling out Jusuf Nurkic for his bad play is not a true Phoenix Suns fan, isn't a real fan. They are not existent in Jusuf Nurkic's mind, which is understandable from an NBA player's side of things. Nurkic also added with a smile, if it ends up like the first half, they probably would have been on his ass all night trying to kill him or whatever. But Nurkic obviously had that big second half here for the Suns, and he also clapped back at Kellen Olson during the game when Kellen Olson obviously talked about the Nurkic situation in the first half being pretty much a goner, which most Suns fans assumed. But then obviously Nurkic had that pretty solid second half where he was able to bounce back, scored 9 straight points for the Suns, and Nurkic had this to say to clap back to the media as well, saying, interesting take, Kellen. So not only was Nurkic, like I said, clapping at Suns fans, saying that the trolls on the internet don't know what they're talking about, but he also clapped back at some media members. And obviously, I can understand why Jusuf Nurkic is feeling this way. He's obviously an NBA player. He's better at basketball than all the people that are talking about him, including myself, and I can fully recognize that. But there goes in a place where if you're injured and you're on a top tier team and you know we're supposed to be winning, why are you playing on an injury to possibly hurt yourself or maybe make yourself not play the best? That's my kind of issue with this Jusuf Nurkic is on ankle injuries. Why are you playing when we can see with Mason Plumlee and Oso Iguodala that the team works better with them in the lineup without Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal? Yes, you're an impactful player as a fourth option on this team, but you haven't been the most significant impact player. Jusuf Nurkic was set to practice on all these three-pointers, was set to be this quote-unquote reinvigoration of Brook Lopez, as Suns fans imagine. And with this new jump shot that we see Nurkic working on, he said he felt better, felt the best he ever felt in his career. And we've already seen from the start of the season, he's dealt with more injuries to start off the season than we've most likely seen, and that's not great for that feeling like the best you ever have. And also going on to the fact that in multiple games, Jusuf Nurkic shot 5% from the field, 0% from three, and 50% from free throw. That is just not something that is smart. Regardless if you have Beal, regardless if you have Durant, regardless of who you have, you can't be a fourth or fifth best player and shoot like that. Look at some of these other teams across the league. If you look at the Celtics, for example, when players like Kristaps Porzingis or players like Jaylen Brown are out, players like Derek White and Drew Holiday step up for their team. A player like Jusuf Nurkic has to be able to do that when one of of his players steps out. Not a player like Ryan Dunn or Josh Okogie, one of those role players that is automatically coming off the bench needs to step up. It needs to be one of those starters like Jusuf Nurkic. So I do kind of question where Jusuf Nurkic is kind of saying those things, but ultimately Nurkic has been all right for the Suns. If we want to look at his stats so far for the season, like I mentioned, 9 points per game, 10 rebounds. He can do some solid things for the Suns in the rebounding categories. He's a pretty solid rebounding big, but like I mentioned, 29% shooting from the three, 40% shooting from the field. His offensive game is just not there. And even though he did get some solid points in a solid run for the Suns in yesterday's, hit the wrong button, in yesterday's contest, it wasn't the best outcome for it didn't bring the best outcome. Now, obviously, if we want to look at what other Suns players had to say about Jusuf Nurkic, Hayden Silly reported with this, saying that I think he had one of the best games of the season, said Devin Booker. And also, if we want to look at what Mike Budenholzer said, he said he obviously scored in the paint, but I think his screen setting was huge too. Unselfish. You start doing those things for your teammates, you start getting hits, and then the ball finds him in the post. But Mike Budenholzer said on Jusuf Nurkic's 12-12 effort, and the Suns win. And like I mentioned, Nurkic did play pretty solid. He did go on a little bit of a run, getting 9 points straight in that second quarter, and had a little bit of a reinvigoration in that second quarter for the Suns. But ultimately, there still are possibly some question marks revolving around Jusuf Nurkic and his tenure with the Suns. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Are you guys sticking with Jusuf Nurkic, or are you guys changing up on him? That kind of gets into the next part, which is Nurk right kind of understanding it. And I will give Nurk some credit, obviously, here. As much as I've bashed him and I've kind of gone off on him on this channel here, you have to feel for him as a person. You have to feel for him as a human being. Like I said, he's dealing with these injuries. He's playing through these injuries. He's trying to help the Suns to their best ability. But as we've seen with this team, Jusuf Nurkic might not be the best fit for this roster. He can help out and grab some rebounds. He can help out and score in the low post occasionally. But if he's going to be having games where he's playing only solid in one half or not in the other, that's not going to help out in the playoffs. And when the Suns are going up against some of these top teams, and as we've seen when they're fully healthy, a 9-1 roster, they are one of the better teams in the Western Conference, if not the best. So if they continue to stay healthy, if they can get this win streak back onto a streak and take total control of the Western Conference with Durant, with Beal, with Tyus Jones, with Booker, with Jusuf Nurkic, it's going to be even more and more eyes on him to see, is this a hole? Is this someone that can stick with this team and work if they're fully healthy? And we'll have to see. Now, ultimately, there's a lot of questions kind of going into those scenarios. Obviously, the Suns still have to stay healthy. They still have to start winning and getting to the top of that Western Conference to really fully see if Nurkic can stay within this lineup. But if Nurkic can have games where he did last night, where he can hold his own and look solid for this Suns team, grabbing rebounds, scoring some points in some bunches for this team when it is needed, then he can for sure stay with this team. But if we are seeing what we saw before a couple games ago when Durant and Beal were hurt, where Osa Iguodala, Mason Plumlee are looking better than a player in Jusuf Nurkic. They're fitting in. They're looking like they could be better fits. Jusuf Nurkic is just not looking like that guy. Then I could easily see the writing being on the wall for Jusuf Nurkic, because if he's not working with the starters and he's not working with the fully healthy team, then what is he bringing for his Suns organization that it wants to be pushing for a championship? So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. How do you guys ultimately feel about the Suns? How do you guys feel ultimately about Jusuf Nurkic? Like I said, it was a big win last night. The Suns came out on fire with Durant, with Beal, with Devin Booker back. And like I said, this three-headed juggernaut is ready to take control, and I can't wait to see how dominant they look in these next couple games if they can stay healthy. The Suns, once again, are on tonight. Take in another game before Thanksgiving. We'll have some stuff to cover for that following the game for you guys over here on the channel. But once again, you guys have been absolutely fantastic and showing love and support. Wanted to get this video out in the early morning for the Suns fans. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Have a great rest of your day. Peace out, y'all, and go Phoenix Suns.